Well, hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. It's a busy season, but man, that's what I want to talk to you about today as we head into the busiest of seasons. A good friend of mine has written a resource to help kind of prepare your heart and your soul for that busy Christmas season. And how do you do that? You're getting ready to deal with a bunch of extended family. You got to figure out gifts, and you got to try not to, gain 10 pounds eating food that's so good. I'm just so excited to have Gregg Matte here today. Gregg, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Great to be with you, William.
Yeah, and let's see, am I right? Is this your 21st or second Christmas at Houston's First?
Actually, I'm coming up on 20, so I'm at 19. So you're a
You're
little
19.
ahead of me. That's
Okay.
right.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to make it to 20.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. you know, Gregg's at Houston's First Baptist, which many of you know has been a huge impact in our city. Before that, Gregg started a Bible study called Breakaway, which is at Texas A&M. And golly, how many people do they have going to that now, Gregg?
I bet we probably have 4,000 to 5,000, and on like a big night, maybe 7,000 to 8,000.
We did the search for the new exec director, or whatever the right title is, and which was so humbling. So Gregg has had an amazing impact starting a Bible study that literally scatters seed all over the world when those graduates leave, and working at Houston's First Baptist. Little known fact, I came to Houston right after 9/11, and I was 31 to be the senior pastor at First Presbyterian Church. They really should have used a search firm. They didn't make a very good decision there, but I think there were some mutual friends from the search committee at First Pres and at Houston's First Baptist, and they started comparing notes, and they said, well, how's it going with hiring that boy to run your church? And it was early, so they said, oh, it's going great. And then lo and behold, Gregg and Kelly came to Houston not too long after I got here, right?
Yeah, about 3 years. We got here 2004.
Yeah. Yeah. And here we were, these two young guys with these big, great churches, and Gregg did a good job. So here we are after a long time of knowing each other.
Yeah.
And things have changed, but man, I am so thankful for you and your friendship and what you and Kelly have done for our city, and really want to hone in on, you've written a book. I got it here. Salvation Has Come. And it's, as you can see, it's not a Karl Barth doctrine book. This is not a
readable.
Exactly. This is the unabridged version, but it's a devotion for Christmas. And I just, anytime I interview an author, I want to hear how that book came about. Because I tell people, with 7 kids, I have been in the labor and delivery room a lot. And I've never given birth, but watching people do that, it's like, that looks like it feels like when I try and get a book out of me. So it's got to be something deeply embedded. So how in the world did this book come along? And give us just a little bit of the origin story, and then where we can use this.
Yes. Well, every Christmas, like many of us do, you're trying to find something to do with your family. And so we have Advent devotionals we've done every year for who knows how long. So I just pulled out one and I started reading it. I thought, no, not this one, not this one. And then I felt like they were all so similar. I thought, let's do something different. And I didn't really know what to do. And then my sister-in-law put up an Instagram post that said, what if you read the Gospel of Luke over the 24 chapters of Luke in the 24 days of December? And when you get to December 24th, you'll know the who and the why of Christmas. So I thought, that's a great idea. So I started reading Luke, just a chapter a day. And then about chapter 3, maybe 4, I thought, I'm going to challenge myself to write a devotional based on one verse of scripture from each chapter of Luke on this day, to really feel what December feels like. Like when you get to December 12th, it has a certain feel to it that's different than December 18th and December 22nd, because there's so many things going on. So I just, each day, I would read the Gospel of Luke, that chapter corresponding with that December day. So Luke 5 on December 5th. I'd open up my computer and I would just write a devotional on one verse that really struck my heart. And it was just for me. It was just for me to do it. And then I would read, as a bad pastor, you should not do this. I'd say, hey, do y'all want to hear Dad's devotional from the day? And they'd be like, no, we don't. So we would just read Luke. But then I started doing it. And when I got on a roll, I thought, I got to keep doing this. So I took the computer with me. There's some of these devotionals that are written in a coffee shop in literally off Times Square in New York City, because we went on a vacation as a family and we stayed around there. And so I'm in the coffee shop writing, and it just came. And when it was all over, I thought, well, maybe this is a resource. And Lifeway took off with it, with Rodman Holman. And so it's really a miracle that I've written something last December and it's published and in our hands sitting here right now and will be used this December. I mean, books don't go that fast.
No, they don't.
So, but they jumped on it. And so I love, William, just the freshness of my heart. What did December 7th feel like? And what was the verse that hit me? And then a devotional coming out of it. And I hope that the reader will feel that connection. December 8th was written when they're reading it the same day a year before. That's what it felt like. So when kids' school stuff's going crazy, I'm feeling it. When Christmas Eve is coming, I'm feeling it. When you're talking about relatives coming over, I'm feeling it. And that's going to be what they feel. And so it's kind of an odd book. Most books aren't written in a timely manner like that. You pick it up at the beach or at the ski slopes. But this is a real December, let's get ready and get our hearts for Christmas, based on reading Luke.
That's good. So you would have to go to Times Square for like December in Houston. I think we're having winter on a Thursday this year.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I tried not to use too many snowy illustrations, unless they're very symbolic of Santa's sleigh or something.
Well, I just think it's going to be a super good resource. And is this something that you see families being able to do together? I mean, is it PhD level? Is it kindergarten level, or does it cross cut?
Yeah. No, I think it's perfect for a mom or a dad to grab, for a church member to grab, and to say, hey, let's take this book. And like you said, it's small, it's readable. You put this in somebody's hands, and folks that have had it, my friends that I've already got, when they're like, feels so good, feels readable, doable. And so I think what I'm going to do, what our church is going to do, is every church member is going to get one. We're going to do as a devotional, as a church-wide devotional over the month of December. So we're all connected. The whole church is connected together on these devotionals. And then they're reading it to their families each night, or if they do it once a week, however they want to do it. And so you could definitely sit around with your kids and read it, but it's not, a first grader is not going to get as much as a 12th grader out of it, but there's no pictures, so, but it'll be a great read. It's a good family resource. It's a good church resource. Hopefully it'll be good for leaders to have in their hearts, just to kind of a breath. Because, sometimes if you're a Christian leader, church leader, December's coming and you feel like it's a freight train coming, and you're a little more anxious than you are excited.
Oh, my counseling, when I was a pastor, my counseling load tripled in December.
Yeah. It's a tough month.
It's not a fun time for most people. So,
and we're taught to fake it. We've got to make it. It's the most wonderful time of the year. So we have to put on our happy face. And there's really some things going on in the heart. And hopefully, if you can get with the Lord and you get in Luke, I mean, imagine the end of December and you read the whole Gospel of Luke and you went through a devotional based on each chapter. Man, you show up to Christmas Eve with that, you're singing Silent Night in a different way than if you've just been worried about Amazon Prime deliveries and school functions and grandma coming over and Uncle so-and-so that you don't like, or what, that's hard on the heart.
That Uncle so-and-so will get you every time.
Yeah. Hey, there's a whole movie called Christmas Vacation about it. So
that's right.
It's a classic for a reason. So
that's right. Well, I wonder, I want to finish with the book, but I want to take a slice of time in the middle. And I want to ask you questions. Like, sometimes I'm like, all I have is a hammer, so everything looks like a nail, right? And when I think about the work we do with Succession and the work that we do helping churches, like pass the baton, what would you say you've learned, the Breakaway ministry that you have that is so amazing? You're on your fourth leader now, is that right?
Fourth director, that's right. Fourth in 34 years. So that's a pretty good run.
That's pretty good for a college ministry.
Yeah.
So What are some things that you didn't know when you first left Breakaway that you're like, oh, I'm glad we did it that way, or I wish we'd have done it different in terms of getting the handoff right?
Hmm. You know, you guys, one, just to give a shout out to you, y'all have done such a great job. We've used you at our church and at Breakaway, and we just appreciate because y'all really have got this really figured out in a great way. And so the thing I would say is, what's the personality and the passion is going to override anything that you hear in an interview. And
Mm,
so, you know, are they passionate about, you know, preaching? Are they passionate about, you know, hospital visits? Are they passionate about, you know, those, where's their spiritual gifts and passions? That's really going to be what they do each day. There's things now in being in ministry 30 years. I got a text today, hey, could you check on such and such? And I texted back and said, that's really not my spiritual gift, but yes, I'll do it. And I kind of ha, because I was supposed to do it and I forgot because I don't want to do it. It's not a part of my passion, but I got to do it. There's necessary evils. And then secondly, the personality. What's the personality of that person? Because they're either going to build something or they're going to break something. And
mm,
if you need it broken, sometimes you need things broken. And there's some guys that they don't know how to operate in something fixed. They got to break stuff to fix things. And then there's other folks that maybe they don't know what to break. And so they can't ever get anything new. So what's that personality? Because the personality of the pastor is going to become the personality of the church, I think, in maybe 5 years. And so that leader personality, that leader passion has to be a cultural fit with the church. And if it's not, then you're mixing, you're putting gravel in the gears
mm.
because it's just not the right thing. So I took over here after, you know, 30 plus years of a patriarchal man of God, incredible John Bassanio. I mean, wow, in heaven now. But I was the right personality for it because I took my time. I knew what to work on a little bit, what to leave alone, what to just not mess with. There's still stuff I'm not even gonna mess with that. Why mess with that? And work on the things that are really going to get you the results. So that personality and passion, that helps the baton pass. And then lastly, I would say in today's culture, being really clear about the character of the person and their Christian character, you know, passions, and then that character
Yeah.
foundation that's there is really important in today's world.
Yeah, I've got a good friend who's a trial attorney, and he represents a lot of colorful people. And I'm like, how do you deal with that? And he said, oh, I can handle anything except a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
just if there's a surprise
Yes.
coming, tell me now so we can go
Tell me
ahead
now.
go ahead and deal with it.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Now, golly, I could talk to you for hours about this. How in the world do you know what to say? Well, I'm not going to mess with that, and what to say? Well, that needs to be tinkered with. How do you figure that out?
You know, I try to gain some wisdom and some knowledge and think what's really going to happen if we do this. Is this really going to change anything? And then I always like to say, and I sure could have gotten this from some book. So if I should be quoting somebody, I just have forgotten. But don't just have change plans, have transition plans
Hmm.
and show them a preferable future. So like there was something going on in my mind the other day, and I thought, what if we did da, 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 da? And then I thought, okay, that would change 200 people maybe, and not spiritually change, but we'd grow by 200 people because of that. But I would have to have the grief 400 people that would be
Right.
upset about it. So that's bad math. You know, I want to spend a dime to make a dollar. I don't want to spend a dollar to make a dime. And
That's right.
so, you know, those you just got to, and then you kind of, I'm listening to an audio book on Winston Churchill right now called The Splendid and the Vile. It's about the war rooms and the blitzkrieg of the Germans. And William Churchill would practice his lines that we now know as these amazing lines from the sermon or from the speeches. He would practice those on people throughout the weeks and see how they went. And then if it worked, he would pop it into a message or a
Wow.
parliamental speech. And I thought, you know, that's some pastoral wisdom there. What
Yeah, no
if he
kidding.
did such and such? And people go, I don't know. And then, okay, well, let me check it out on somebody else and just get some kind of thing before it becomes official. But I think as pastors, lastly, we feel this kind of a Moses on the mountain. We've got to go up. We got to get the 10 Commandments, and we're bringing them down written in stone. And this is how it's going to be. But the thunder and the lightning happen on top of the mountain, not at the bottom of the mountain, and that's the difference. We don't want, I want the thunder and lightning with the Lord. I don't want the thunder and lightning with the church,
Yeah.
So let's keep it calm. But instead, the Ten Commandments is obviously different than a new vision. But how can we do this so that by the time we gets to the church and I declare it from the pulpit, we know what we're doing by then. It's not just I'm going to throw this out and then try to backtrack. I'm going to do my due diligence and then come in to the moment to declare.
That's good. That's good. So one other question, and it's about your breakaway time, which is a little different because unlike the churches we've served, where you've got families that have been there for generations and generations, you got a college kid for 4 years and they move on. You got a new crop of college kids, but there had to be like a challenge in letting go of some of that, especially when the Lord, but through you, gave birth to that ministry and you kind of had to hand your baby off. Like any wisdom you've learned, like about there's a senior leader listening right now who's trying to let go, and they're getting a phone call from the member saying the new guy changed this and like, what would you offer to that person who's listening saying, I got to figure out how to let go?
Yeah. Oh man, I know it. Breakaway started in my apartment. It was me and my 4 roommates. I mean, it was literally from baby to then we were in a basketball stadium with, thousands of students, staff, office. I mean, so I watched it from baby to, 16-year-old, I don't know, 18-year-old, whatever it is. Here's the thing I would say is just keep your mouth shut. I remember the first board meeting I went in, Ben Stewart took over after me and they were changing everything. I was like, the reason we did that was this, and the reason we did that was that. And I was like, just be quiet, be quiet. This is exactly what I don't want to hear in my realm as pastor. Well, Brother John did it like this. So just keep your mouth closed. And if you will keep your mouth closed, what will happen is that new leader, possibly not everybody's the same. They will come to you for advice and wisdom, and especially if they're smart, because you know the history. And so you're able to that, unsolicited advice is the worst kind. So just wait. You love them, call them, encourage them, shoot them a text, here for you, anything you need. And then they'll kind of turn back with you on that. And then 2, if it's not a change of the gospel, I mean, if it's heresy, if we're talking about a true diversion from the truth of Scripture, the truth of Jesus, we're talking about deity of Christ or something like that. I mean, step in, raise your hand. That's not going to fly. Well, you're talking about doing something different, then don't worry about those things. It's going to be better. And then lastly, this sounds selfish, maybe it is. Your legacy is going to be better by the church being better. They'll look back on you and go, you're amazing. I get more credit for breakaway stuff that I didn't do and more thank yous for things I wouldn't even, like, I didn't know. Did we do that? That was actually Ben did that, or TA did that, the other guys. But it now as the founder, I went to A&M, the football game just recently, and people are thanking me for things. And it's because I let it fly and let it be its own thing. And that's good. It needs a new voice, and be the encourager, not the controller.
That's good. That's really good. Be the encourager, not the controller. I've said to people many times, and I think I stand by it. I think people remember how you leave a ministry long after they forget whatever you did while you were there.
Yeah.
I just think that's part of it. Oh, that's super helpful.
Yeah.
So back to the devotional. This is something that, like, I want to get this podcast out sooner rather than later, because I feel like it feels like something pastors could purchase for their church. And maybe I'm thinking like a marketer and I shouldn't, but like, is that kind of the idea? I mean, I know you're going to do that with your church, right?
Yes. Yeah. Big time idea. Because I love pastors, and you love pastors too. I want to help pastors because, you help one pastor, you help possibly hundreds, maybe thousands of people. And so yeah, that's a heart of it. Obviously one person can buy it at a bookstore, order it and have it. But if a pastor said, hey, we've got a devotional resource, we're going to do this, and they announce it kind of late November, everybody buy one of these. They're cheap, they're small, and we're all going to do this devotional together. And then what I'm going to do is on December 3rd, I'm going to preach out of Luke 3. And December 10th, I'm going to preach out of Luke 10, which is a great passage of Mary and Martha about worship or busyness. That's going to be perfect for Christmas. And then December 17th, Luke 17, December 24, Christmas Eve, I'm actually going to talk about the resurrected Christ and how the cross and the cradle are connected. Because everybody's got baby Jesus, which is, we love baby Jesus, you know, but to be able to say, here's the end of the story, the resurrected Christ, the walk to Emmaus, the burning in their hearts, their sad, downtrodden faces, the joy of Jesus. Man, it is a Christmas Eve message that'll preach. And so Rodman Holman's gotten about that as well. We put together basically a one-sheet pastoral helps page that has, you know, the passage, the idea, and the sermon title even, and then the idea. So it doesn't prepare the whole message because that's got to come from your heart. But it's like passage, sermon title, and you know, thesis, and then you build that out.
Gets you asking the right questions.
That's right. And then you can do that. And then here's what happens. Here's what's the joy for the pastors. You've got your whole church reading the book of Luke, that's a home run right there. They're reading a devotional, and then you are you are matching each Sunday where they are, you're connecting with them and saying, you know, this week in the devotional, and when you were reading, because I know as a pastor, if I can get my people to spend time with God each day, they're going to grow in their relationship with Christ. They just come once a week to hear me, it's going to take a lot longer. So it's a whole package of being able to do that. And you know, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And we've had other churches doing this. I mean, obviously our church is doing it, which doesn't say much because I'm telling us we're going to do it, you know, but other churches also are doing this. And, you know, we've got one denominational entity, they bought 500 copies, and I think they're sending it to 300 churches.
Wow.
In our state. North American Mission Board, a national organization, is using it with church planters. I mean, so it's really catching some fire, and I want to help the church.
That's great. That's great. Well, I couldn't thank you enough for spending time with us. I know you're busy and you've got a lot going on, but I was just taken by this. And I get books. I've got 5 sitting here that came this week from publishers or whatnot. But this one actually caught my eye, and 7. We're going to buy 7 copies. I get 7 kids, so that's happening at least. So
you got to start somewhere.
Well, and you know what? They all live in different places, so at least it gives us a common, like, okay, here's what we're going to talk about this week when we catch up. You know.
Yes. Oh, it's great. Well, you know, somebody can go if a pastor is interested. Lifeway on their website's done a great job where you can open it up and you can read a few devotionals. It's got the bulk discounts right there on the website. I mean, they'll take care of it. They love churches, so be able to do that. But man, I'm glad your family will be reading it. That'd be awesome.
Is there a website people should go to that's like the one-stop shop?
Yeah, I think that would be lifeway.com would be the best thing. And then there's also Salvation Has Come. Goodness, I should know these things, shouldn't I? Salvation Has Come, and it's like .org something. I don't know what it is. Shows you I'm not a very good salesman. So, but it's in there. Just Google the book in my name and you'll find it. You know, somehow.
Tell you what, I'll help sell the books. You keep selling the eternal fire insurance.
There you go. That's right. That's right. You don't want a pastor that's too good of a salesman. You got to kind of be a little careful, you know.
Well, Gregg, it's always good to talk to you, man. And thanks again for what you're doing for our city and for the kingdom at large. It's been a joy to have you on the show. Well,
thanks, William. I appreciate you and all you're doing for the kingdom too. And it's always a joy to be with you as well. So God bless you.
And thanks for joining us. Make sure to get all of the show notes and all these things that'll point you in the right direction. We'd love to hear from you. Love to know what you want to hear about, and hope that you will take a chance to use this resource to get ready for Christmas. Thanks until we talk again.